Welcome to Aaron Plays. In this episode, we'll be doing turn 4 of Right Pickings, which is an ASL scenario which I converted to Band of Brothers. Originally did this back in 2017 and subsequently refound the files. So please enjoy. Thank you. So turn 4, so it's just turn 4 and 5 remaining. The Americans are, or have accumulated so far, 2 tanks, which is 10 victory points, 2 full scores, 11, 12, 13, 14. This one here, 15, and this one here, 16 points. So leaving 6 to claim a victory. Also, the Germans this turn will be able to expend 8 movement points. Both sides have 1 command point each. At the start of the operations phase, the American player would offer the Germans if they would like to expend their command point to go first, and the Germans would like to do so because there looks like there might be a tank fight going on. So this tank, actual fact, they'll fire this tank first to fire at the American tank, which is still classed as moved or a moving target. So, as that is the case, it must do a proficiency check, which is 8. A moving target knocks it down by 1, so it's a 7. The orchard's not in the way, so it's a 7 to hit. Germans roll a 5. So that is a hit. So you then compare the armor rating, AP value of 13, take away 7, that's a 6 to kill. Roll a 3, there's a burning Sherman, it's removed. And the German character is marked as used. Now it will be the Americans' activation. Okay, the Americans are down to 4 squads. So I'm going to start with this guy, who is bazooka armed. He will attempt to knock out this Panzer IV. So he has to do an SATW check. His current morale is 10. The 3 on the actual check itself makes it down to a 7. 2 hex range. He needs a 5 to make that shot. Rolls an 8. I don't think this guy's actually ever got a shot off, so he probably didn't bring any ammo with him. So no effect, apart from he is marked as used. Okay, next activation will be this unit here. He will move in there for 2. Germans can final protective fire even with their tank here, and will try to do so. As this is a final op-fire shot, he has to do a proficiency rating. So his proficiency is 8. Final for op-fire is -2, so that makes a 6. So you need to roll a 6 or below to get this shot actually off. He rolls a 6. Okay, so then we can compare the fire values. His infantry effect is 10. There's no bonus for being adjacent when you're firing at an actual gun, so it's the 10. And the building gives a defense of 2, so it knocks it down to an 8. So it requires an 8 to have an effect on the American infantry. He rolls a 7. That's good enough to suppress them. The German infantry will also try a shot into there. Okay. This is not a final op-fire shot because they're currently marked as, well, not marked as used at all, so they can attempt this shot. But they have to do a morale check because they are suppressed. And their morale is 5. They roll a 10. their heads are so well down that they're not able to make this shot, and then our marks used. So that ends the opportunity fire. The American wants to carry on moving, must do a morale check. His morale is 6. He rolls an 8, which is a fail. He will use his command point to roll that dice. It gets even worse, a 10. The Americans are quite comfortable sitting inside that building and are not coming out. Thank you very much. The Americans have completed 2 activations, and as their command limit is 2 to 7, they pass back to the Germans. The Germans, concerned that the Americans are trying to get a tank by the looks of it, decide to counterattack. So this tank will now move, and he's going to move away from the bazooka team, as they're the ones that's most likely to be able to cause a casualty. So it's 1 to change facing, that's 2, 3. Now he's only used a quarter of his actual move potential. 4, only a third, so he can actually be marked with op fire. You use more than a third of your actual move potential, he'd just be marked as used. Though he is still marked with the move marker. Or is he? Let me check. No, it's not marked with the move marker. So, and that's classed as 3 actuals, so it's back to the Americans. Okay, they've got a weapon team over here, which they will use to fire into this hex here to affect that infantry. The firepower is 7. There's no terrain modifiers, so it's a straight 7. Rolls a 9 for no effect. And that just leaves 1 American unit left to actually activate, which is this one here. Oh, I need to remember that the German tank used 4 movement points, so they've still got 4 that they can use for this turn. So this guy really does not want to be able to go forward here to these 2 hexes, because this German tank can fire at him. Even into this hex, the German tank can fire because he's marked with op fire. So all 3 of these hexes are now very dangerous. So the chance of actually knocking out this tank are dramatically decreased. So this guy will shoot over to here. Actually, they're going to do anything. No. But they're moving here. He'll give him an op fire shot. So he will shoot into there then. So his fire value is 5. Orchards is in what they call inherent terrain. Well, not in this rule, inherent terrain, but it fills the whole hex. So that's a 4 firepower. Rolls a 10. Nope, nothing happens there apart from he gets marked used. At which point the Americans have still got this guy here. That's right. So he will move. To do so, he has to pass a morale check. 5, which he does pass. So he will go 2 to there. And I think actually that will do him. 2 to there. So over to the Germans. The Americans are all finished. So it's the Germans, they've still got 4 movement points left. With that in mind, this tank looks pretty safe. It's time to reinforce there because there are Americans over here still. So this German infantry unit will come over there for 2. Can't remain stacked in there, he is suppressed. So into there for 3, at which point this guy can final protective fire, or will do so. To enable him to do that, he has to pass a morale check, because he's suppressed, his morale is 6. It's not going the Americans' way. With a 10, he cannot fire. At that point, the German can enter his hex. So we will have a potential melee situation occurring there. That was another 2, 3. Oh, I exceeded their movement limit. 2 to cross the hex. 3, and it actually cost 2 to go in there. They only had 4 movement points left. I'm going to allow that to remain to see if we can actually get a melee situation actually occurring. So the Germans temporarily gained an extra bonus movement point. They're obviously keen to get into close combat in this hex here. The Americans have got no units to activate, so it's still with the Germans then. They've got no movement points left. In fact, they've got -1. So they're just going to do some shooting. So this guy will shoot on the American that's down here. His fire rating is 5, which becomes 4 because of the orchard, and 3 because of the woods. Needs a 3. Rolls a 6. No effect. This German unit here can shoot over to there. 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes. Again 5, -1 for the orchard, 4, -2 for the bocage is 2. Rolls a 7, no effect. This German down here has no could fire, but he's got fire rate of 4, down to 2. No effect. And that's the Germans done. Morale. Okay, so this unit in here is with the German unit. It has to test morale. His morale is 6. He rolls a 6. He is remaining in the hex. Good. So we actually now get a melee. This unit here is adjacent to an enemy, but that enemy is in melee, so he doesn't have to test. The unit down here doesn't have to test because he's not adjacent to an enemy unit, and the same with this American up here, doesn't have to test. So that's all the tests. So we have our first melee, which is over here. Effectively, you get to roll 2 dice per unit. So, and this is simultaneous. We are looking at the firepower ratings. So his firepower is 5, his firepower rating is 5, and each hit or each roll 5 or below will cause a hit on the enemy. So I'm going to roll all dice and see what we get. In my excitement, these dice fell on the floor. So, rolling again. Okay, Germans get a 5 and a 10, which causes a hit on the Americans, which makes him fully suppressed. And the Americans roll 2 7s, which is nothing at all. And that was the melee. Now to clear the board. All the use markers. Any yellow suppressions are removed, and any red suppression becomes a yellow suppression. Command points reaccumulated and alt fires removed. We are now ready for the last turn of the game.